Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. And yes, we were talking about NHL trade rumors again today, and I know I've touched on him in two other videos, but there's reason to discuss him with the latest information pertaining to the coveted forward in Patrik Laine. We all know the story with Patrik Laine, and the rumors really died down as the draft and free agency started, but over these past 48 hours, they have picked up, and it's about time we discuss them again. So if you haven't, of course, checked out my previous videos on them, I did do two other videos regarding Laine back when he was first connected to the Carolina Hurricanes a while ago, really over easily, like almost 2 months ago now, it seems. And then same thing 3 weeks ago with the Flyers and Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, I am talking about them again in today's video, but there has been a lot of recent reports regarding Laine to suggest that, say, talks of trade rumors are starting to heat up. Now, look, does it mean anything's going to happen? Of course it doesn't, but it's worth the discussion and for good reason. So make sure to stay until the end of this video if you want to make sure to hear all the deets and all the latest information regarding Patrik Laine. But why am I making this video about Patrik Laine again if I've talked about him with Columbus and the Flyers just a couple weeks ago? Well, what has happened over the past 48 hours with Pierre Lebrun, especially from TSN, has come out and explained he had a discussion with the agents of Patrik Laine and his team, and has stated how while Laine hasn't formally asked for a trade, they do believe it would be mutually beneficial to both the Jets and Patrik Laine if he is dealt. This way, because we all know the controversies with Laine at this point, the former second overall pick in 2016, only to Austin Matthews, is one of the best young and upcoming goal scorers in the NHL and was already an absolute stud. I know he's more one-dimensional with his game, but his offensive production is truly slim to none. It is in a land of its own. I really think Laine has potential to be the next big thing in the NHL when it comes to goal scoring, because he has already proven what he can do throughout his rookie year and beyond. But let's get into it more regarding the situation. Why do they feel it's mutually beneficial? Because Patrik Laine, it makes sense from his side of things. He hasn't asked for a trade per se, but there has been, of course, his reports of his disgruntlement when not playing with Mark Scheifele enough on that top line per se, and really playing with other centermen in that top six for the Winnipeg Jets when he loves playing with Scheifele. Can't say the same about other players per se. And he's been really not too happy from all the reports that I've seen, at least, and from his agent, how there's been an inconsistency with minutes per game, and that goes in hand, of course, with Paul Maurice, the coaching. So there's been a lot of controversies with Laine, probably more than I can even tell you at this point. And I've seen the Jets reports over these past month or two to suggest that they can't commit to Laine long-term, nor do they want to at a cap hit of at least over $9 million once his current deal of 1 year at $6.75 million is done. So it seems inevitable at this point that Laine is not going to have a long-term future with the Jets. And I know that upsets Jets fans. I'm sorry, but I just want you to understand that this is a very tricky situation. You probably know that by now. But when it comes to Laine, he's going to look for the bag, and deservedly so. He is just getting started in his young career. If you look at what he has done in his career as well, too, just to summarize, the 6'5", 206-pound winner, this past season with the Winnipeg Jets in 68 games played, has 63 points, almost point per game, including 28 goals and 35 assists. Yes, he has been streaky in his goal scoring, but a lot goes into that as well as a young player. He's only 22 years old. Take that into account. The year prior, however, he had 50 points as really a sophomore slump, including 30 goals and 20 assists, but that can go in hand with, say, his mismanagement, if you will, in that lineup for the Winnipeg Jets. I understand both sides of it, so I'm just throwing that out there as well. And then in his rookie year, that's where he's had his best season to date, including 70 points with 44 goals and 26 assists. We all know Laine can shoot the puck. He's so reminiscent of what Alexander Ovechkin is today in that left dot, right-hand shot, but Laine can shoot the puck all throughout that offensive zone and make goals happen, no doubting. His playmaking ability has gotten better, and his defensive game, I really do believe, will get better as he grows and matures into a more well-balanced player throughout his career. So I don't think that's something you should hang too much on your head for him, in my personal opinion, at least. I understand if you feel differently. But nonetheless, let's look at the latest reports regarding the Flyers and the Columbus Blue Jackets, because when the agents for Patrik Laine came out and said how it'd be mutually beneficial to both sides, it would be beneficial to the Jets, knowing that they can't commit to him long term, that he won't commit to them long term. That's basically been all said, but everything but officially said at this point in time. The Jets would love to address their holes in their lineup. They don't even have $1 million in cap space currently. They have just around $27,000 pending any trades that would happen with, say, Jack Roslovic, because I know that there's been rumors there that they wouldn't mind moving him to have him have a change of scenery, him being a pending RFA, among others. But regardless, Laine at a cap hit is 6.75 mil. You'd have to make sure that whatever return you're getting, that's not too much over that unless you know that you're going to be able to make trades. They brought in Paul Stastny, who was originally with the Jets just 2 years ago, was great there in his short time after being traded there at the deadline, was solid in the regular season, and in playoffs really stepped up for them huge. He's traded back with his full cap hit of, I believe, around 6 mil, if my memory serves me correct, from the Vegas Golden Knights. So they hope that bringing in Stastny would maybe help Laine entice him more to be comfortable with playing along Stastny and not so much Scheifele, but there has been really any indication to suggest that that is the case at this point in time. So all the more reason to see Laine possibly gone if he really just wants to say Sandstone, play on that top line, for instance, with Scheifele and get as much minutes as humanly possible. I'm sure that's what he's looking for. But nonetheless, how did the Flyers and Columbus chime into this? Well, they both have some significant assets and have been connected and shown heavy interest, it seemed, for Laine over this past month and a half now, especially the Flyers. And a lot has changed, though, when it comes to their roster and what they have done since the last time I reported on this around 3 weeks ago, or at least discussed it. So that's why we're bringing it up again today regarding these latest rumors and what kind of assets are they able to give up at this point in time versus when they were able to give up just around 3 weeks ago. But let's start off with the Columbus Blue Jackets. They freed up plenty of cap space this offseason. They really salary dumped Ryan Murray and Marcus Nudavara, two defensemen who now can't be part of, say, a potential Patrik Laine deal the other way. The Jets would love to address that defense. We all know this. They really don't have anything stellar there. Outside of Morrissey, and Neil Pionk has been solid, but besides that, they are looking for that number one pairing defenseman, I'm sure, whether that's on that left or right side, especially that right side, I would assume. And they have the center depth now. They drafted Cole Perfetti, who very well could be their next number one, if not 2C, in just a couple of years possibly for the Jets. So along with Stastny currently there. So I don't think that they're going to be looking to address, say, that top six center position nearly as much. If anything, maybe that bottom six. But even then, I think their main focus now is defense. In my mind, at least. I could be wrong. But the Columbus Blue Jackets, they have their two stud defensemen in Zach Werenski and in the likes of Seth Jones. They made other moves. They brought in Max Domi, signed him to a bridge deal, shipped off Josh Anderson to the Habs in that deal. They made a lot of moves this offseason. I like a lot that Columbus has done, but they missed out on both Taylor Hall and Pietrangelo. The reports were that they did offer them both deals, and neither of them came to Columbus. So it makes you think that they are circling more back to Columbus, to the Patrik Laine situation, if they hadn't stopped at any point in time. But there's a reason why this is starting to pick up again now. And when you look at their defense, there has been rumors that they are willing to shop David Savard, who's one of their better, he's really their third best defenseman, I would say, at this point in time, outside of Werenski and Jones. He's just under 30 years old, still in the prime of his career, a very underrated defenseman. That would hurt to see Columbus lose, but Columbus does have a good amount of prospects, especially defensively speaking, but it's a matter of would they be willing to give up, say, a big fish in Seth Jones, for example, in a deal with Laine going the other way. Now, do I think Jones will be enough? I honestly don't. Maybe you could do that 1-for-1 like they did with Johansson with Nashville years ago, but I'm not sure, and I know Columbus doesn't want to lose him, so that's the biggest question. If the Jets are going to move Laine, yes, I know that they probably feel they don't have a long-term future with him, but they still can try their very best to get the utmost return possible. So would they be able to get a guy like Jones? I'm not sure. I think it would be tough, and I know Columbus Blue Jackets fans definitely don't want to see Jones go. I understand that argument. And would they be able to, say, give up David Savard, possibly Pede, who's their top defensive prospect, who I know a lot of people don't want to see gone either, and some other assets? It would take a lot for Laine. That's the biggest thing. And how much exactly? And losing both Murray and Nudavara leaves me scratching my head a little bit. If they would, say, be able to still make a deal happen with not having as much defensive assets to throw in, because really Columbus could have gave quite a bit to the Jets had a deal been done already, because they really gave up Nudavara and Murray for next to nothing. So just things to consider. I know Columbus is still interested, at least that's what it seems, but I'm really wondering how Laine would be dealt and for what return. You would assume they would want a top defenseman like Seth Jones. At this point in time, it would really make a lot of sense. But then when you get to, and Jones has a modified no trade clause, by the way, so it all also depends on if he's on that list. If they were to approach him and say, can we deal you the Jets per se? And even if he isn't on, if the Jets aren't on that list, he can flat out say no if he wants. So other things to consider. I'm not saying Jones is going to be dealt, but I'm sure the Jets would love to have Jones in a deal with Laine should they trade him. But let's get to the Philadelphia Flyers now. And the Columbus Blue Jackets have just under 13 million cap space at this point in time of recording this, at least at 12.9 mil. But now let's get to the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers have just under 5 mil that they're working with. They still have some RFAs that they're dealing with, I believe, including young defenseman Felipe Myers, unless they resign him. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. If I am, let me know in the comments below. But nonetheless, the Flyers, they made a lot of moves this offseason. We know this. They got rid of Matt Niskanen because he retired, so that freed up roughly 6 million cap space, which is huge for them. They brought in Eric Gustafsson on defense, basically to fill his spot as of now on a 1-year deal. Not even 4 mil, I believe, is just 3 point something mil. So very solid deal for them. But when you look at them, they would love to get rid of that JVR contract and Gostisbehere. Will they be able to do that in this kind of deal? I don't see it happening because Winnipeg simply doesn't have the cap space. But what players would, say, the Flyers be willing to give up in return for Patrik Laine if it's, say, just Patrik Laine being dealt and no one else out of Winnipeg? That's another thing to consider as well. Could there be a bigger deal? I'm not sure, but there is reason to believe why Laine could be dealt sooner rather than later. But when it comes to the Flyers, they have young defensemen Travis Sanheim, Felipe Myers, who, yes, they aren't number ones per se, but they are definitely an upgrade over a lot of the players that the Jets currently have on defense, in my opinion. And would they consider really locking in and saying, we're not giving up Laine without, say, getting Provorov? If that's the case, then I'm sure the Flyers would be very reluctant to making that deal happen, because I've heard rumors, at least, that they would be reluctant to give up Sanheim and Myers per se, so let alone giving up Provorov, I think would be a stretch. But I don't see the Winnipeg wanting anything significant out of that offense, and I don't see them necessarily wanting Gostisbehere unless the Flyers would eat half that salary, and I don't know if they would be able to. So a lot of things to consider there as well. The Flyers, however, do have defensive assets that they can throw in. They have Cam York, who's their best defensive prospect, one of their best overall prospects that they could throw in as that deal too. York could be in the NHL sooner rather than later, maybe in a year or two. I'm not sure exactly when he will make it, but nonetheless, these are things to consider. These are two teams that have been heavily pursuing Patrik Laine from all the reports that we've seen over this past month, and to suggest that the agents for Patrik Laine have come out and flat out said that they would feel it's mutually beneficial for both parties if a trade happens, just goes to show that it really seems inevitable at this point that Laine will be dealt. It's just a matter of when and where. And again, I could be wrong, obviously, but there's a lot of good reasoning to suggest otherwise. But again, let's look at everything that's happening between not just these teams. Carolina, they probably have the best assets they could throw in as well. I really didn't talk about them in this video because they haven't been the most teams pursuing Laine, reportedly speaking, as of late, but they have great defensemen in both Hamilton and Pesce that I know would be more enticing for the Jets more than likely, but I think there's a reason that Carolina doesn't want to give them up per se. Same thing can be said with the Minnesota Wild. I know the Jets have reportedly shown interest in Dumba, but I'm not sure if the Wild would be willing to, say, do a deal there. I'm really not sure how that would pan out, because I know the Wild would love, say, a number one centerman, for instance, than anything else. So I don't know, but at the end of the day, Flyers and Columbus, keep an eye on them. I expect them to be active in free agency, and who knows, they could be making a signing later today or before I even get this video out there, and then they don't have as much cap space to make a deal happen. I don't know. I really don't know, but it's fun to have these discussions because these latest reports really should suggest that Patrik Laine will be on his way out of Winnipeg sooner rather than later. But if you enjoy this video, and let me know your thoughts, of course, hit that like and subscribe button, and let me know in the comments down below, how do you feel about this Laine situation? Do you think he'll be dealt? Do you think that what has come out with his agents especially are something significant, or do you think it's just another simple thing added on, and at the end of the day, Laine will play another year at least for Winnipeg? Regardless of your thoughts, let me know all of them in the comments below as always, guys. And if you enjoy this kind of hockey content, again, hit that like and subscribe button. It means a ton to me. I can't thank you all enough. Help us get to 2,000 subscribers, guys. We're just over 1.7k. It means a ton. I can't thank you all enough, and trust me, guys, this is still just the beginning on this channel. But make sure to check out my previous videos regarding free agency, all the signings that I recorded, all the trades that I've talked about, or even other rumors when I've done my other trade rumor videos regarding Laine or other players overall. Make sure to check them out if they still hold relevant to what is happening today. Thank you so much, guys, and I'll be back real soon.